Okay. All right. Let me put the first comment. Let me see. The chat should be over there. Okay, so for all practical purposes, I do believe we are live. And if you're out there, just let us know. And my name is Gwyn Gittens. Let me give you my spiel at the beginning. And that is, yes, I am on the Lee County School Board. This is not a school board function. I am not representing the Lee County School Board. I'm just representing me. And um, I have gotten so fancy these days that I have an app that allows me to have guests. And I said last time, I think you guys are really excited about that. Um, because I don't have to be the only one that you listen to. So I have a guest this evening is Mr. Eric Metzner.
Hello.
And we're going to get into some conversations. And Eric, can you do me a favor? Uh,
Certainly.
I just want to make sure that I have put it on public so everyone can see it. And I don't know if there's someone we can ask to double check.
I'll ask my wife.
Okay.
Give me a
That's what
second here.
wives are for. Okay.
Yeah.
We won't sing, I promise. Let's see. Um, okay. And if you are out there, forgive the pause here.
Yeah, I'm
But
just letting her know.
okay,
Just asking her if we're live or not, what she can see. I didn't get a notification. Usually I get a notification when you go live.
that I'm on.
Hmm?
All right, let me try this. I hope I have pushed everything that I need to. No, it's up there. And let me make sure. I don't know how to turn off the words, so I guess for the hearing impaired, they can read and
Yes,
reading
that's
my lips.
important.
So yes, it
I
is
was
an
gonna
important.
say ADA is important, Miss Web Manager Lady too. I like yes, yes,
It
yes, yes.
really is. So I think it's interesting when you get a new app that you're working with to see all the things it could do.
Right.
Um, so anyway, all right.
There she is. Hello again.
Okay, I'm back. It's saying three. I don't see my other guests,
Uh oh.
and
Maybe change the view.
no, I would see her on the side. It has an app thing on the side where it sees us over there. And
Okay.
I sent her the link, so we'll see if she can get on. If not, we will carry on. I am checking to make sure it is pinned for public. As
Please.
your wife said,
She she doesn't see me, and I asked her to check yours because I
okay,
think she thought I meant to check mine. I'm like, no. She does
okay.
not see you live yet, but there could be a delay too.
Yeah, but the other thing I'm trying to see on Facebook how I make sure who can see it. Pin post. Say edit. Oh, here we go. Edit audience. Yeah. Okay. I knew. Now everybody's going to see us because I just put it live.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
Technology.
Okay. Okay, guys. So we are live now, and I will go back and start my little spiel again. And this is Gwyn Gittens, and I am on the Lee County School Board, but this is not a school board event. I am not representing the school board. I am representing me, Gwyn Gittens. I my district is District 5, and I initially started doing this so that I could make sure that people know and understand everything that's going on and what's happening with the school board and what's happening in schools and in education. So I started just going over the agendas and all of that a few days before we had meetings. And then it kind of expanded, and now we have guests as well. So if you're out there and you see us, let me know by at least giving me a thumbs up or something on the side, and we will get started. Okay, make sure. Let's go. Okay, checking on my angles here. And I hate to go over myself, so all of this stuff is fun. I think I've got it all set up.
I see you live with 3 viewers.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so people will slowly come in. I do want to, yes, now I see the 3 viewers. It's funny, it's not showing that on this side.
Okay.
Um, we, just to give you a little update, we've had meeting after meeting. We had 2 days of meetings, Monday and Tuesday this week. And next week, we also have meetings on Monday and Tuesday. No, Tuesday and Wednesday, I believe it is. And let me just get it here to make sure. Yes, we are meeting on the Tuesday the 7th. We will be having a workshop. And the topics on that workshop are going to be our regular agenda review. And I want to tell you about that because if you go on to Board Docs and look at the agenda and you have questions about something, this is the time that you can email me or email the board or whatever and ask those questions, because on Tuesday we go through all of the agenda items that there are questions for. So get them in before the Tuesday workshop, and that will be Tuesday, I believe, at 1 o'clock. The other thing that will be talked about is capital improvement, and I have they don't have anything listed in here yet. Um, so later on this week, I'm sure we'll get more information about it. You want to, especially our East Zone people, we want to make sure we keep track of what's happening with capital improvement. That's the schools being built, the um, portables being fixed, all of that falls within that. And we did have earlier this week, I think it was Tuesday afternoon, so it's still on Board Docs, information about capital improvement and which projects are going on. We need to be able to know what's happening. And if you have questions, we need to talk and ask the questions before the projects get on down the road. So make sure you watch that from last week and ask me any questions or whatever. And later on, we can do that as well. Let's see. The other meeting is Wednesday, the 8th, and that is at 6 o'clock. So it is a public meeting And you will be, okay, and you will be able to ask questions and all that. So there is public comment, in other words, not ask questions. I'm sorry, take that back. There will be public comment. At the 1 o'clock meeting, it is a workshop and their public can come and listen and watch, but you can't participate in that one. I believe we're going to be talking about the budget as well. And then in the 8 o'clock meeting, that will be another item that will come up. So just take a look at the agenda, make sure you don't have any questions or anything for us. And I will answer any questions that you might have. So let's get on to our guest. Eric, you're going to go ahead and explain to us who you are, what you do, and all that. But before he does that, let me make sure I tell you guys, Eric is not here to talk about what he does. We're going to talk about some generic things. We're not delving into specific issues. And the theme is positivity. We have a lot of things. Hold on. Okay, I just found out I'm live on YouTube. So if you can't see me on here, you can see me on YouTube, and it's Gwyn Gittens on YouTube. But you can't give comments there, and over here you can. Okay, so Eric, tell us a little bit about Eric.
Well, I'm a 20-year veteran here in Lee County as a teacher. This is my 30th year teaching. I've been in multiple different counties throughout the state of Florida, many different subject areas. My undergrad is in music education. My master's is in educational leadership. Uh, and I've enjoyed all of my years with Lee County. Came down here in 2000 and still enjoying it to this day.
Very good, and we're very glad to have you too.
Thank
Trust me, we are, especially in these times.
you.
Um, so I know I looked out in the audience and I saw you at a couple of the meetings, and um,
Yes.
if anybody is interested, tell us the benefit of coming to board meetings or speaking at board meetings or whatever. How do you
Well,
think that helps? Or
attendance is something that's it's unique in and of itself. You get to see the forum in a different light. You see people as real instead of on a screen,
Mhm.
and you get to hear spirited debate about what's going on throughout the district. And the debate is based upon facts and figures and stats and things of that nature. But it's also based on emotional content and awareness of the environment and the community. So what's going on is just this positive minutia of ideas and sharing what the beliefs are, but it's also a chance for a person as a participant just being there to absorb all the different viewpoints and see the real work that's going on in the district,
Mhm.
um, at the board level, but in a public setting, not in a workshop setting. The workshops are different as a
Right,
participant. The
right,
workshops are very informative, um, professionally led as well as the regular action meetings, but it's a different vibe, and the
right.
vibe is more let's get to business,
Mhm.
let's discuss the issues that are going on, let's make sure we stay on the agenda. Whereas the action meetings, when there's public comment, gets to all the different viewpoints.
Right.
Um, and there's negatives, but the negatives and the positives go together, and they make the experience well worth the time.
And I actually have told a lot of people that if you have the opportunity to come to a board meeting, whether you speak or not, the experience is good. You do see the amount of work. You do get a different feel for what the board does. as opposed to, like you said, watching it on digitally. So we are, of course, in the midst of trying to see what we can do to help this with this pandemic and health crisis that we're going through. And like I said last week, and I've been saying to a lot of different people, um, okay, someone just said yes, I'm live on Facebook. Good. Hey. All right. Um, my analogy to this whole thing is that a building is on fire, and inside are children and adults, and we, all of us, are the fire department, and we are standing in the driveway holding on to the hose, but instead of turning on the water, we're arguing about who started the fire. So
Agreed.
that's kind of my way of describing this. And what I try to do, and even with this, um, going through this process, I try not to get into the negative. My point is, what can we do to turn the water on? What can we do to stop the fire? So, one of the comments that I made was talking about the multi-pronged approach.
Yeah, you mentioned the layering of the mitigation processes.
And what did you think about that? I mean, did it was it helpful in
Yeah.
understanding?
Well, it was helpful to step back from the elephant in the room
Hmm.
and get a feel for where the elephant's living as well and all the things around it. It wasn't just about that one mask topic, but it
Right,
was more about all of the different ways that the district itself and the people that work with the district, the schools, the staff, the parents, the students, how everyone is working towards the same common goal, even if we have a disagreement about the elephant.
right, exactly. And I think that's how we're going to fix this whole thing. And just as an update, well, let me ask you this. I know you being in the education for 30 years, you know a lot of teachers and administrators and all that.
Yes.
So, what is the tone? What's the feeling in the schools? Because we haven't seen a lot of them come to the board meetings. I understand they're exhausted after the end of the day. But
Yes.
what are some of the thoughts that you hear?
So different school levels, different colleagues, different experience levels. The common thread seems to be a general concern about consistency throughout the district as far as how the mitigation standards and protocols and processes are being done. And by done, I mean what's being followed, what's not, who's following what, who's not. And the range of emotions from the teachers is just as high and low as it is in the community as a whole.
Hmm.
So, and there are, arguments on both sides for the teachers as well. There's arguments on both sides for the parents who don't go to those meetings, and quite a few who wanted to but didn't,
Right.
and for whatever reason. And there's no rhyme or reason uh, to validate why they do or do not go to the meetings. And there's still a valued opinion.
Hmm.
So collectively, I would say the range of, you know, from one side to the other of the debate of the elephant and one side or the other to the debate of the mitigation processes and the collective supervision of them is also happening at those levels, the teacher level as well. So they have the same concerns because they're
Right.
people too.
And I can imagine that. I it it pains me and hurts me when people say certain things with that are not really the factual things that are going on. I mean, for example, Um, actually, what's happening, and I explained this at the meeting, is the glitch of it in my mind is the testing and finding out the follow up and saying when you have to quarantine. And we're behind on that. DOH is behind on that. And we are behind on it. But I can say I did talk to staff today, and they are hiring additional people and
Yes.
training additional people to come in and do that. And I spent a few hours in that room where the call center is, and it is just fascinating. And those people work really, really hard.
So that's the CCC. Um,
The With the CRI forms,
yeah.
the forms that they have to fill out, and where the disconnect is, people understanding and knowing what to do. Um, I have always said in this district we are, surrounded by very, very smart people, but we have to be able to break information down so that everybody can understand it. And again, I say, not dumbing down, I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying, I explained this to some folks the other day. I said, you may have a room full of high level, like COOs or really, doctors or whatever. They, just like everyone else, would prefer to go in that room and you just break it down and say, okay, this is the problem. This is what we're doing. What questions and comments and suggestions do you have? But especially in education, I think we want to show everyone that we're in education and we're smart and we can use $25 words when $5 words get the job done and just that much quicker.
I like that.
Um,
$5 words.
$5 words will save on the budget, okay?
Yeah.
And everybody in the room, whether they're a PhD or an associate's or just a high school grad, can understand. The average reading level across the United States is sixth, seventh grade. So if we stay with that average, um, that helps everybody.
Now, can I say this? I
Please.
agree with staying with like a local dialogue and
Hmm.
making sure that people like when I'm listening to the people who speak in the public comments, I don't just listen to the stats that they're saying. I'm listening to them as a person,
Right.
each one, and they're very informed. All of the people who have spoken are very informed,
Hmm.
and you know they have a fire about them that's like, let me explain what my
Hmm.
viewpoint is.
Right.
And staying on that level and in that particular uh, time frame, and with that same environmental feeling, and knowing that, okay, what I'm saying is being heard.
Right.
That's the biggest part. And
Hmm.
then not know, and then also, and not being talked down to, but being invited into the discussion is really super important. So and I didn't mean to interrupt. I just
No,
wanted to
no, no.
point that
That's
out.
fine that you brought that up. And because some people that do speak in public comment feel that actually the opposite, that we are stifling them. We are not letting them know, have enough time and understanding. And it's the type of thing that because of statutes and Robert's rules and all of that, there has to be some type of order. And that order can be stringent at times and seem like we're trying to not listen to everyone. But back to your comment that everyone just wants to be heard. That's the key right there. Whether you're over here or over there, or you're up there or down there, everyone wants to be heard. And not everyone is like has the ability or the skill like some of our teachers do with our kids to have that pedagogy, that ability to get a teacher point and make sure that people understand it. And I think as a district, that's one of the things, along with that communication piece. Tamara, thank you for joining, Tamara. And she said, you're right, we're not being transparent enough. And see, here's the thing, when if you don't understand something because it's not broken down enough, the first place people go is you're not being transparent.
Mm-hmm.
You're hiding something. I
Right.
used to tell I used to tell the board all the time, if we don't put out and say what is actually going on, people will make it up. And they do. It's just a fact. If they hear just a little bit over here, then they're going to assume this big piece over here. And suddenly, out in the public, there's this grandiose story that isn't necessarily accurate. So,
So,
go ahead.
if I may,
Yeah.
going along that same line of thought, it's more of we hear, even the teachers feel the same way. That level of transparency, that's really not that the issue that we're addressing. The issue is that the the content of the knowledge, the collective knowledge, and the policies and whatever may be going on may not be at a level that's able to be put
Absorb.
out there
Right.
in an understandable manner, mostly
Mhm.
because it hasn't really been figured out yet. Like this is brand new. We have never been through this in history. At
Mhm.
least us spring chickens here. We haven't been through that, so we don't know what we don't know, and that leads to that, like you said, making up some things based upon what we do know, and then making that fit
Into the
whatever that
equation.
viewpoint is. Yeah.
And that is something I don't know. I'm just so adamant about that and making sure at the meeting I mentioned, for one, everybody can go on to the leeschools.net website and see the chart that shows what to do if you're positive. And I suggested, because it's a lot of words,
Oh my gosh. Yes.
okay? It is an excellent, educated, thorough document. But it can be educated and thorough, but if people don't understand it, you're missing something. So my suggestion was, and I'm still not going to give up on it. You know me, I keep bringing it up. I think that when we do things like that, let's talk to some of the, like you mentioned, Digital Lead, or some of those the schools that have the digital design, and say to a group of kids, okay, let's see which group comes up with the best adaptation of this information at a seventh grade level. And how do you know it's seventh grade level? Because you teach them how to check the reading level of it as they're going along, just to check it and see, okay, it says 12th grade, not good enough. What do we need to change to bring that down? Do we have several $25 words that we don't need? Well, let's try it. Switch out some of those $25 words for a $5 one. Check your level again, and you may have gone down 2 or 3 grades.
Okay. So the dollar amounts on the words, I get it,
Okay?
and I appreciate it so
Okay.
much. You just keeping all right. As a web developer too, that's part of what I also taught: digital design, web developing,
Oh
coding,
my
things of that
goodness, I'm
nature.
talking to a web designer about this. Okay.
Nothing wrong with that. But keep making things look and feel simple takes a lot of work.
Oh, I know it does.
So much work.
Well,
And
here's the thing. I have always said
yes.
that a teacher or a professor, when I was in college is a good example because you get professors that are published and authors and all of this stuff, and they know their topic to their gut. They just live it and spew it. It oozes out every time they open their mouth. But to explain all that they know to their students is an art and a skill. And not every professor can teach. They can, do all the stuff that they do and write and get published, but they can't teach some of them.
Agreed.
So and it's the same concept. We are an education organization, and I always go back to differentiated instruction when we're in the classroom. The teachers are told if Johnny doesn't get it, it's your responsibility as a teacher to go back and make sure he does. Well, first of all, how do you know he didn't get it? Because he's sitting there looking at you kind of cross eyed or, whatever, sucking his teeth, or he's disrupting the class because he wants to get out because he doesn't get it. There are ways to know that our public doesn't understand, our people don't understand. And
Right.
we've got to look for the keys and the ways to know, is this understandable?
The other thing too, I think that goes with that piece, and I said that piece because I hear that a lot from from folks in the Red Wing. Let's put it that way.
Uh-huh.
Is that we don't know what they've been through that day and their experiences that day, and what's heavy on their mind or what's heavy on their heart or what's heavy going on in their family
Mhm.
life. We don't know. Uh,
Right.
so we have to take that into consideration as well. So day to day, week to week, sometimes hour by hour, minute by minute, and repeating in different forms is a really good way of checking to see
Mhm.
if they got it,
Well,
and
and
then they can
it's
change.
just like we have to translate because we are, uh, you know, a very high population of our students are monolingual. And the data is that I think it's something like 40% of our kids um, speak English during the day, and when they go home, they speak another language, whether it's
That is
Creole
so
or
impressive to me.
Spanish. And I know,
It's
but it's very,
impressive.
very, it is, and it's hard though.
Yes.
And I can remember I was on the board for Take Stock in Children once, and we were giving scholarships to certain families, to certain students, and their families didn't want the scholarship. And this is where we're learning about cultures because I never will forget this one mother saying, no, if you do this, then they're going to leave home and I won't see them. So that is, we have to kind of meet people where they're at.
Totally
That's
agree with
that
that.
that's the thing. And I did skip over. I'm seeing some more comments on here. Okay, Shay. Thank you for joining, Shay. I'm sorry, I just saw your message. Staff don't like getting info after parents do. Yeah, I can agree with that. When I say that communication is one of our disconnects, and I'm not speaking out of turn because I say it all the time from the dais. This is my third year up there, and every year I have said communication, the big C, we need to really work on. And I think we're getting there and people are understanding, but sometimes I don't know if they know what it is we need to do. So what will help is you guys out there in the public and parents and teachers give suggestions. You can send it to any board member, you can send it to me and say, I looked at this list and it's kind of difficult. Have you ever thought about doing it this way to make it a little easier?
Perfect example.
And that's what we all need to do. And parents and teachers and staff, please don't feel like you can't do that. You can.
Well, it's the
It
same thing with the parents who want a choice and those choices, if it's just one or the other, the feedback or the pushback is going to be greater than if it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Hmm.
And then they're like, okay, well, I have more freedom here to choose, and that's one of the reasons why I did decide to get up and speak. And I will tell you this: the very first time, and I want to touch on that. I don't know
Okay.
how. I know you're good on time, so I don't want to
No, no,
take
no.
too
Go ahead.
much.
I want to hear what you have to say.
But the first board meeting that I went to support a coworker, and
Hmm.
then I wanted to speak about something that was regarding me and my career.
Hmm.
And during the time that I'm a participant or taking in all the information as an attendee, I started to think, well, these are good issues. I'm hearing a lot of different sides. Let's put on one more side to it
Hmm.
that incorporates everyone's ideas, but then also sheds some light on maybe the teacher viewpoint, which is
Right.
why a couple meetings back, I got up and I decided to say, let's look at some options because parents want some other choices besides just yay or nay.
Hmm.
They wanted
Hmm.
choices like, maybe another alternative to this decision. Maybe yay and nay have a yay A, yay B, nay
Right.
A, nay B. There's different availabilities to them. So those choices were very important. And as an attendee, as I sat there, and this happens to everybody that's there, it's not just me.
Hmm.
And I got that feedback from other people. That's why it's been beneficial. Is yes, your viewpoint is not really changing, but instead it's transmogrified into, all right, let me bring this in over here. I heard that. Let me bring that in over here. Let me put it together. And
Hmm.
then how does it work together rather than let's just stay on this one thing and just hammer it until people are just tired of hearing about it.
Right. And but see, that's what communication is. And that's why I'm always talking about this Venn diagram, that the way I see it and the way you see it, we may start out way over here, but as we listen to each other and really listen, we're trying to get to that crossover with that intersection where I understand you and you understand me. You mentioned the parents wanting choices. And for example, I heard a lot of parents saying, do we have, can we bring back Home Connect? Okay. And it seemed like an easy thing that we could just do. But if you're sitting there listening, you understand the things that we did to mitigate this problem are things that were within our ability to do.
Mm-hmm.
We legally cannot, we were told you cannot do this, you cannot do this, you cannot do this. And
Yeah.
one of the things we could not do was to do Home Connect because the overarching statement was have kids in school.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do anything to keep them out. It's interesting you brought that topic up. I was talking to someone today from the district that said, I asked, well, how is it going? Do we have a lot of kids that are staying home because of masks or whatever? And across the board, it's not. I mean, there are a few here and there,
Right.
and parents have that right. But one of the things they told me was uh, they spoke to one administrator and they said, actually, their numbers increased. More kids came to school. And I hadn't thought about this. And the concept was because the parents who were afraid to send their children now were sending their kids to school.
Yes.
So our numbers went up.
And I can validate what you're saying based upon colleagues of mine who've said the same things. Like they're seeing more participation in the school. They're seeing more of that choice being made. And again, it is a choice,
Mhm.
but they're also saying that the children really want that to be about them. They want school to be about them. No matter
Yeah.
how they attend, of course, they're going to want the social aspect, but they still want school to be about them and their experience.
One of my favorite stories that I heard from in the last 2 days was a parent took their child to school and said that they were adamant that the child was not going to wear a mask. And so the administrator said, well, it's this is what we have to do. And they thought, well, maybe they just don't have one. So the administrator put a couple of masks on the table. If you need masks, we have some for you. And then it just kept going back and forth, and the mother saying, no, the child is not going to come and wear a mask. After a few minutes, the child stood up, the student stood up, grabbed a mask off the table, put it on, and said, I'm going to school, and left the room. And I thought, wow. And how many times did we hear in the boardroom, have you talked to your child? Have you asked your child? And I gave that story about the one little boy that was being interviewed, and he's holding the sign saying, don't muzzle me and all that. And when the reporter asked him, he said, you know,
I think I
if I
saw
go to
that.
school, yeah, if I go, did you see it?
I think I
And
did.
it was, I think it was CBS or something one morning. And if I find it, I'll post it out here. And he said, well, I can stay home and I don't have to wear a mask, or if I go to school, I have to wear a mask. He said, it's okay with me. I just want to go to school.
I just want to go to school. There it is.
And that's what basically the kids are saying. And in the majority of schools, there's not a big issue. Now, I will go back and say, like I did Tuesday night, that I was concerned about having a mandate because I didn't know how we were going to enforce it. And if you go back and look at a couple of meetings, I kept saying, okay, but how are you going to enforce it? We don't want to put anything else on our staff to have to enforce something that we put into place. But from what I'm hearing, there, like I said, there's onesies and twosies here and there. But for the most part, kids are excited just about being back in school.
They are. My experiences back when after that spring break and we came back and we started Lee Home Connect in the classroom,
Hmm.
the students who did attend with a mask on, it was difficult for them. It was a difficult transition,
Hmm.
but the con outweighed the pros for them. The con to
Right.
them was, oh, now I got another rule to follow. I got another thing I got to do,
Hmm.
and I got this, I got Mister in front of me or Miss in front of me telling me to, I got to keep pulling up my mask. I've had this mask on for 6 hours already. I don't want to pull it up anymore. I'm done.
And
And I,
time
I
pulling it.
understood it. I understood
Yeah.
it. I took it upon myself to go and get extra disposable medical grades. So I always
Hmm.
had extras in the room. And even if the kid didn't ask, I'm like, I
Hmm.
have extras in here. They're wrapped individually.
Right.
Here, it's yours. If you
Right.
want to give it to a friend, you want to take it home to your family, you want to throw it outside, whatever. I said, I don't recommend throwing it. I said, but
Right.
it's yours to make that choice. And
Right.
that was me fearing at that time, going through that process of, oh gosh, here I am, a 50-plus-year-old teacher um,
Hmm.
with my own issues.
Right.
But it didn't matter. It wasn't about me. It's still, as a
It's
teacher, it's still
about
going to be
kids.
about that student's experience.
Right. And how they're doing. This is really a tough time. It's hard for them. It's hard for teachers. And, we're just trying to keep everybody going. And Tamara, I see you're out there. And Shay, I don't know if you are a teacher or whatever, but if you guys have any comments or anything about this as well, just let us know.
Please
Um,
ask. I would love to answer some questions. I'm telling you. Yeah, I'm itching just to answer stuff. And I talk to the parents who are on the other side
mhm,
of this whole situation, being they're the parents, not in the school.
Mhm.
And that's what I mean by the other side, by the way. I'm not
Right.
saying, I'm not
Right.
debating the
Right.
elephant,
Right.
because that elephant just stomped me down. But the
Yeah.
point is that yes, there. You said it earlier that teachers have a way. We have a way of giving information in different volumes, different levels. It's
Mhm.
similar to that Lexile stuff where you can have those $25 words. You turn them into fives, turn them into
And,
ones
and
if you
you
want.
and you know what? You just made me think too that when we're talking about communication, not to put anything extra on our teachers, but the teachers and staff out there have the hand knowledge of their parents and all. You know which parents are really involved and which ones aren't. And reaching out to some of the ones that are not really involved and making sure they understand what the process is. I had a question earlier, I'll go into this now, um,
Okay.
about the testing. And I'm sorry, so sorry, our other guest was not able to be here, but the question came up, and the person is in healthcare. And she was saying that patients that come into the medical center where she works don't realize that they can get testing at schools. So the question was, how does that work? And I do have an answer to say, if symptomatic students and employees only can use the testing that we have at school. And the schools call a central number to get someone to come out to the school and conduct the test. DOH, or Department of Health, has a team that can do the testing, but they don't just randomly go out. If a child or an adult comes in and has symptoms and they know they need to be tested, then the school contacts them and that team comes out. And if it's a child, the parent has to be there present and has to approve of them getting the test. Now,
Yes.
so if they're not symptomatic, then they've got to go to one of the other testing centers. And that's hopefully going to get better as they're opening up more testing sites and all of that. Excuse me. So it will allow people more options. It's a big deal. It's a big process. It can be very confusing. And I just hope that we all work together, staff and teachers, to make sure your parents are aware. I've heard stories of teachers checking on students that they hadn't seen in a day or so and finding out that the child is on a respirator somewhere. So,
Yeah.
that's where that keeping in touch and that human feel and human touch is so important. So we are
Absolutely.
nearing our time. Is there anything that you would like to say as an educator, as whatever, to people out there in this time of difficulty for all of us? But we're getting there. We're trying to get it
Yeah.
together.
The biggest thing I think is not just the open mindedness, but having the patience to listen, having the fortitude and the courage to listen, and then taking that information, even if it's not something that you strongly believe in, and making it a part of a possibility for yourself and your family.
Mhm.
So that patience part, the listening part, all of it together will make things easier. Yes, let your voice be heard. That's part of the process, obviously.
That's right. That's
Um,
democracy.
absolutely.
Hmm.
But realize that as strong as you can voice your opinion, there's someone right next to you with an opposite opinion that's just as strong and has every right to say the same thing.
Hmm.
And understanding that those two sides, there will be a commonality. No matter what it comes down to, the commonality for us as educators is the students' health, welfare, education, and well being overall.
Exactly. Thank you so much and very well said. I want to say to especially, um, oh, Anna, thank you, Anna, for being on. Anna says I'm a pretty opinionated person. And that's good. Be opinionated. Um, but I'm going to challenge you, Anna. In order to have an opinion, you have to do some work. Because think about it. Where do you get your opinion from if you haven't figured out, well, let's see, is it A or B or whatever? You still have to do something to get that opinion. And
Agreed.
hopefully in that process, you're looking at all sides. I mentioned it's like a Rubik's Cube too. You don't know where to start, so you look where the biggest, grouping is, and you just keep moving it until you get it right. That's kind of what we're doing. Just says I've got a lot of opinions. Uh, O'Neill says, ignore the praises and do the correct thing just because they're loud. Okay, and here's what I'm going to say about that. I I don't want anybody on either side to label anybody because one person on one side of an argument can say the other side's crazy and vice versa. But if while we're doing that, we're standing in the driveway with the water off, the building's burning, and we're arguing about who started the fire. Instead, you bring your gear, I bring my gear, and we talk about how do we turn on the water? How do we get the water going? So I don't address people saying, this one's crazy or that one. They have a different opinion. Right, Anna? She says, I've just got a different opinion. And if we look at it like that, not that it's bad or wrong because it's not what we think, it's just different.
Different.
It's like diversity. It's not wrong that I look like I do and you look like you do. We're just different. So Anna says, I'm a teacher. I've got a son that is high risk, that is homeschooled, another son that currently has COVID. Oh, bless your heart. That he caught from someone and I won't say, and wife of a wonderful warrior, a wounded warrior. Oh my goodness. Girl, you got it in spades. Um, so there are people with all types of stories. My heart goes out to you, Anna. You're in my prayers, just like all of the teachers and all of the staff that, and in education and medicine and all that put themselves in harm's way. And these are real stories, people. These are not, in fact, they're not stories. These are real scenarios. The young lady that was going to be on, um, and I'll just briefly tell you some of the things about her. She works at one of the medical care centers, the walk-in clinics, and her husband works at Lee Health, I think, doing radiology. They have two small children. The baby she gave birth when she had COVID. So she had to go through all of that. Both children are fine and healthy now. And I said to her, how do you manage? Are you concerned that both of you are in healthcare, and coming home to the children? And she says, terrified. But it's our jobs and we have to do it. But it is terrifying to not know if we're bringing something home to our family and who are vulnerable as well. And she said and make sure you let people know that the medical staff is just exhausted. It's just totally,
Absolutely. That's
just
another
like
thing I
the
didn't
teacher.
go on. I didn't
Uh-huh.
say before, I have a couple of colleagues who are they're health educators, and they're seeing the same thing. They were called to go do go to the front lines as they were,
Mhm.
even though they were teachers, and which is two things for me as a teacher. One, teachers who can do teach as well. Um, I don't know where that other phrase came from, but it was someone, yeah. But
Right.
I could see that. But then they were also on both fronts, dealing with the educational part and dealing with the actual realization of taking care of people who needed it the most.
And there's a lot of sacrifice going on right now in our country. A lot of angst, a lot of fear and concern for their own families, and yet people are doing their jobs. Hats off and hearts out to all of you, teachers, educators, medical professions. You guys are doing an awesome job. And
Agreed. Agreed.
one of the things that I think I said it maybe last week, we need to thank people. I know you're nervous and upset when you go in to get that test or whatever, but um, remember that that person that's helping you or helping your child may have two or three children at home and they're worried about them. If we could all just, bring it down a notch and just be nice to those people that are really serving us so well at the risk of so much. And I think, and Anna, I love, Anna said, yes, I see all sides. And I thank you for that. Um, okay. And if you have any ideas, I mentioned to a group last week, contact your teachers if you're parents. And if you have teacher friends, even at another school, and you're a teacher or an educator, send your friends an email, send them a card, send something out there that says, we really thank you for the sacrifice that you're making to make sure our children are taken care of. Okay. What I think I saw one more. Carla was on there. I just Carla Rubio. Hi, Carla Rubio. I just don't think that people are willing to hear a different opinion. Sometimes they're not, but man, are we working on them? if you
Absolutely.
if you share your opinion with a smile, it goes an awful long way. So, guys, I first of all thank you, Eric, for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you
You
for having me
all
on.
that you do. And folks, I'm just so proud to have this new app that I can have people on. It's so exciting. And I will have more. You also can see this for friends that don't have Facebook. It is also streaming on YouTube. You can't give comments on the YouTube one, but you can do it over here. I am expanding so that people can see it in different aspects. And that's what I mean, knowing how we need to communicate. Everybody doesn't have Facebook, so we're going to put it out there so they can find it. Thank you so much to everyone. Let's see what Carla Rubio is saying. Oh, she says thank you. I hope everybody stays safe. I thank you, Eric. I thank you, teachers, administrators. You guys are doing awesome. And a special thank you, let me turn this off. A special thank you to the folks, the nurses, and the people in the call center at the district. Thank you guys. I was in there. I worked next to you for a few hours, and you guys do it more than that. And a commercial, if any of you teachers out there, especially if you have a medical background of any sort, are interested, they're looking at ways to have our staff that want extra hours to be able to help out with that call center, which is great because you know the students, you know the process and all of that. Short bit of training and then you can help out. So thank you. This is a long weekend. Please, please, please stay safe. I know it's a holiday weekend and you want to get out and about, but I'm not going to say wear a mask. I'm going to say make the right decision for you and everyone around you. And we thank you so much. Love you guys. And we'll be back next week. Remember, Tuesday we have a workshop, and Wednesday we have a workshop, I believe, on the budget. And then we have a 6 o'clock meeting that you can speak at if you want to. Thank you so much. And thanks, Eric. Good night, everybody.